The process of standard development, which we launched today, also impacts the agenda of many agencies, and I particularly refer to the agenda of sustainable development and the challenges and acute concerns being faced by our local and regional agencies and our marine and coastal environments.
St. Lucia, like other islands in the Caribbean, depends heavily on the sea for income and recreation. A healthy marine environment is therefore critical to the livelihood of her people. However, this has been threatened by steady destruction of the coral reefs due to man-made and natural hazards.
The coral reefs are very vulnerable to high temperatures, high energy waves, pollution, unfavorable or inappropriate activities by divers, overfishing, and therefore the need to be able to restore and to protect and conserve coral reefs is very important. At the same time, we recognize the tremendous role that local communities, coastal communities can play in the conservation efforts.
To stop the destruction and repair this invaluable underwater resource, SLC TVET, the St. Lucia Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, in association with Clare Caribbean, the Center for Livelihoods, Ecosystems, Energy, Adaptation and Resilience, and the government, with funding from the Caribbean Development Bank, has written a standard that will certify individuals in coral reef restoration.
We're the first country writing a standard for such endeavor. After the standard is written, that we have a first cohort of persons that will be trained. After those persons are trained and get certified, then the standard will be sent to the to Cantor to be certified as a CDQ.
The focus is on developing skills in coral reef restoration among the people in the coastal communities that are most affected.
This week we're looking at writing a standard. We're calling it a National Vocational Qualification, or NVQ, in coral reef gardening. In light of all the environmental issues and the wear and tear on the corals, so we are trying to see what we can do in this regard to refurbish the corals.
I'm here with a team of coral restoration practitioners looking at developing standards for a national vocational qualification in coral restoration.
The national vocational qualification, one of the things that it would do is to provide the necessary skill sets and to identify or to provide competencies in areas where it's lacking, right, for the management of coral.
The whole purpose is to ensure that persons involved in coral reef gardening know what they're doing. So we're writing a standard that which persons will be following in order for them to be able to manage coral reef gardening. This coral reef gardening is being done, of course, underwater, and therefore persons must be fully certified. They must know what they're doing.
It involves diving, and diving, though a safe activity, there are many things to consider, and so you need persons to be properly trained in one, scuba diving, and then next adding a layer of the work that they're doing, and then you want the work to be successful because there's a cost involved in conducting this activity. So you do want the best outcome and success of the corals. So they have to be trained in their safety first, as well as handling the coral for a good success of the oath plants and the survival of the corals that they're working with.
St. Lucia now claims the distinct honor of creating a new profession in coral reef restoration and providing skills for employment in other areas such as coral restoration instructor, coral gardener, marine tour guide, marine research, and marine warden. The project also provided for training of assessors and master assessors. The standard developed is to be adapted across the Caribbean, and the certification is for acceptance in all participating countries in the Caribbean single market and economy. The DACOM activity preceded the writing of the standard.
Yesterday, we were involved in identifying general areas of competencies for that development of the national vocational qualification. And today we are continuing specifically looking at other components of that, like the performance, the range statements that we'll be developing. And at the end of the week, we will develop a document which will spell out very clearly all the different components that would be involved in a national vocational qualification for coral reef gardening for St. Lucia. This will be used as a model for the other islands that we hope to engage in coral reef gardening.
St. Lucia has indeed blazed the trail for restoration of coral gardens.
The activity we're doing of developing an NVQ for coral restoration, this is the first time it's happened in the Caribbean, and I think we should commend the government of St. Lucia, the Ministry of Education, the TVET Council, as well as the Department of Fisheries, who have been instrumental in making this project come about. And we hope this initiative here in St. Lucia is going to grow into a Caribbean national vocational qualification and become a regional program of training that can spread across to other countries, so we can create a whole cadre of trained coral restoration practitioners.
So the CVQ essentially has that system in place. It is stratified to allow you to put all of the necessary elements in place so that, as I said, at the end, we can provide a certification that will stand up regardless of where you go at the end of the day.
The area of Soufrière on the west coast, with a population of just over 7,000, is the hub of activity for the project.
We have 2 coral nurseries in Soufrière area, and we've had them from 2017. And so I've been in charge in setting them up, populating them, maintaining them, and transplanting them to the reef as well. And so I have the opportunity today of being part of this CVQ, where we can actually set the standards so that the future coral gardeners will be able to reproduce more coral, and therefore our coral gardening, our coral reefs, our program will definitely be intact.
One student from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College was given the opportunity to get first-hand experience of how the standard would be developed for coral reef gardening. She was impressed and could see the potential for use in the southern community of Vieux Fort, which is her home.
So many people don't have the opportunity that I have to go to A-level. I mean, I come from the south. Not many people come up here to go to school. You have lots of the young boys you see at the beach just jumping in the water and going around. I mean, now they get the opportunity to get a certificate, and it's not only recognized here, but throughout the Caribbean. So I think that it's a good opportunity that they're giving the young people out there.
She says the hands-on format and method of training will also appeal to youngsters in the community who already have a love for the sea.
I think that is more attractive, especially from my point of view. At Sir Arthur, we only have majority of it is that in classwork where you don't really go out there to do what you are taught in the classroom. So I think it's actually a fun thing to do, that it would attract the young people especially.
You see, in our society in St. Lucia, we are so caught up with the academics and the hands-on one. There is no stuff that you want to do out there. It's like we have the carpentry, we have the masonry, but this one gives you another avenue. This one gives you a totally new avenue where you are in nature, and not only does it benefit you as an individual to work out in nature and be part of nature, restoring nature, but you also have plenty of opportunities where you can actually travel the world. Because to be honest, coral restoration is not only something happening in the Caribbean, it is something happening all over the world.
While the training and certification targets those who already have some kind of association with the sea and marine life, it was critically important to write the standard to ensure that technical areas are properly covered.
The reason for the process of writing that NVQ standard in coral reef gardening is to make sure that you have brought in the persons in industry together. We have divers, we have biologists, we have people in the industry itself, in the coral reef, we have coral reef gardeners. So that when you put that standard together, it is really coming from the people in industry, the people who are actually involved in doing the job.
The standard has 19 mandatory units for the Level 3 certification, including skills training in areas such as operating a small boat and using marine communication. Participants will also learn how to establish and manage a coral nursery, how to use power tools, and health and safety procedures.
The goal of this process is to have a document, a competency standard, a national qualification that is going to be able to be used by trainers to train those persons in coral reef gardening. And we know that it has passed the quality test because we have people in the industry who wrote the standard and put it together.
The standard will be submitted to CANTA, the Caribbean Association of National Training Agencies, to be elevated to a CVQ Level 3. That will be accepted in all participating countries of the Caribbean single market and economy.
Coral restoration is an activity that's now happening across the Caribbean, in Belize, in Jamaica, in Dominican Republic, in St. Lucia, Grenada, many other countries. And it's about replanting corals on the reef, a bit like forestry. It plants trees. Coral restoration is about propagating corals in a nursery and then planting them out on the reef. And this is something that more and more people are realizing is important to do, and it's actually effective as well. Survival rates are very high, and so many international agencies are supporting this, as well as regional agencies like the Caribbean Development Bank, which is funding this particular project, as well as hotels, resorts, foundations that see the importance of maintaining coral reefs around the region.
A core team contributed to writing the standard, which has been approved by the SLC TVET and validated by the Industry Advisory Committee for Coral Reef Restoration. The standard will be the official training document for those interested in marine conservation and coastal occupations. Those who gain the certification will acquire broad-based preparation for employment, higher earning potential, and an alternative route to higher education. The NVQ will contribute to the Caribbean's human resource capacity development, and there will be a higher skilled workforce ready for the ever-changing global demand.